And welcome everybody to this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, the Tobs were sitting at 23-23 before their game last night against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. It was the 7th game out of 8 so far this summer between the two teams, and it was an old-fashioned pitcher's duel between Quinn Atwood, the starter for the Wilson Tobs, and Bennett Schultz, the starter for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. Actually, Quinn Atwood allowed a run in the first inning. The Swamp Dogs had a runner on second base with 2 outs, and Atwood threw a 2-2 pitch to Sam Hall, which looked like it was over the inside corner, but it was called a ball by Clayton Simmons, the home plate umpire. And then the 3-2 fastball, again inside corner, but this time ripped into right field for an RBI single. And it was 1-0 Swamp Dogs after 1 inning of play. It would stay that score until the bottom of the 3rd inning when Matt Rubino led off the inning. He was down in the count 0-2, and then Schultz tried to get an off-speed pitch into the dirt, but Rubino stayed back, dropped the bat head on it, and sent it well over the right field wall over the Lee Motor Group sign, and making the game 1-1 on Rubino's first home run of the season, a solo shot. So 1-1, and it would stay 1-1 until the 8th inning when the reliever for the Tobs, Daniel Batts, who was 5-0 coming out of the bullpen, allowed a solo home run to David LaFleur, the number 9 batter for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, on a 3-1 pitch. And I mean, he just smoked this ball out towards left, giving the Swamp Dogs a 2-1 lead. However, the Tobs would respond immediately in the bottom of the 8th inning. Bennett Schultz went back out on the mound. He had thrown just 90 pitches for the Swamp Dogs and looked pretty good. Collins Cuthrell led off the inning, a ground ball to short to Jason Bloom, and Bloom, well, he bobbled the ball. The throw was wide of the base, and that allowed Cuthrell to reach base. It would be 1st and 3rd with Ben Schmucker coming to the plate, and David Tufo, the head coach of the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, instead of going righty on lefty as Schultz, the right-handed thrower, was going up against Ben Schmucker, the left-handed batter, Tufo called on Hunter Barnett, a left-handed arm out of the bullpen, and it was a good decision for the Tobs, as on a 1-0 pitch, Ben Schmucker singled into right center field, making it a 2-2 ball game. He ended up at second base as the throw from Michael Bozarth missed the cutoff man, and that put guys on 2nd and 3rd for the Tobs with 2 outs. In the next pitch, the first pitch of the at-bat to Matthew Parrish, a fastball up and out of the zone, and it got by Sam Hall in and out of his glove to the backstop, allowing a run to score, making it 3-2 in favor of the Tobs. Parrish would walk, and that brought up Drew Cole, and he doubled deep to right, making it a 4-2 score. The Tobs wouldn't get any more, but after Drew Cole's 10th double of the season, the Tobs, being down 2-1, all of a sudden had a 4-2 lead heading into the top of the 9th inning, and head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, called on his expert closer, Chris Williams, who had been 8 for 8 on the season in save opportunities, and again was terrific out on the mound, retiring the Swamp Dogs in order in the top of the 9th inning, including a strikeout of the first batter. He's now 9 for 9 in closing opportunities, and in every single closing opportunity so far this summer for the Wilson Tobs, he has not allowed a single run of any kind, not an unearned run, not one single run, when it has been his opportunity to close out games, and he has done the best job in the CPL so far this summer. The Tobs now sit at 24-23 on the season, 1 game above 500, and things are looking really good for the Tobs as they try to make it back to the playoffs. And so we'll see if they can wrap up another one as they play the Morehead City Marlins tonight. And if they take out the Marlins, they can deal a real good blow to the Marlins' playoff hopes while really propelling the Tobs into that 3rd playoff spot. Well, we have a lot more to come here on Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you for tuning in. And with me right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, a 4-2 victory last night against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, and a really, really good game. Some strong pitching by both Quinn Atwood, Daniel Batts, and Chris Williams. And last night's game, when it's really close and both teams are kind of going toe-to-toe, what's the hardest part about it for you?
Really, there's not anything hard about it. You're just letting your guys play. I mean, really, you'd like to be in that situation more than you are down by 4, because when you're in that situation, you know that there's not much you have to do. You just put your confidence in the guys who have proven to you all year that they can do it, and you just let them do it. And if it comes out on top, that's good. If we come out and we need to work on some things, we will. Luckily we put the guys in there who have been really good for us all year with Daniel Batts and Chris Williams. Also letting Schmucker hit when they brought in the left-hander. He's been great in that situation all year. I think he's in 4th for RBIs. And they all got the job done in their own way.
Yeah, and with that game last night, a 4-2 game, but it was 1-1 the entire time, and then Drew Cole in the 8th inning, at the beginning of that inning, he makes a diving catch out in center field. Later on in the inning, David LaFleur hits a solo shot. How big was that play by Cole?
Well, it was huge because I feel like when we came back in the dugout, only down by 1, our mentality was, hey, we're still in this game. Being down by 2 in that situation, I'm not sure how we react. I'm not sure if we react the same way, because we get the leadoff guy on. All of a sudden now the tying run's on first base and the go-ahead run's walking to the plate. We get the leadoff guy on down by 2, and it's just, okay, we still need another guy to get on base here. So I think it was huge for our mentality, for the way we thought about how we were going to attack. Once you get a guy on, you just bunt him over and let's tie the game up and see what happens. So it was huge that Drew was able to lay out and catch that ball.
And that's pretty much what happened in the bottom half of that inning. Really the big hit, the single by Ben Schmucker against the left-handed pitcher Hunter Barnett. Were you happy to see Bennett Schultz leave the game and go with the lefty-on-lefty matchup?
Yeah, actually looking at it, I was actually happier to see a left-hander come in because, their starting pitcher had a lot of arm side run that was just diving away from Schmucker all day. He had a really good changeup that Schmucker was having a hard time staying on, but they brought in the lefty, and I don't know if it was flat or he just left the pitch up, but Schmuck was able to hit it. So I think actually the matchup of the left-hander for Ben was actually better for him because he threw him inside, and Ben likes to hit the ball in the right center field gap, so that's what he did.
Yeah, and the 4th run of the game came home on a double by Drew Cole. Already talked about that really nice diving play that he made in the top of the 8th inning. One of the things you've been talking about the last couple of times you've been on Tobs Talk here is resting guys. And you've done a very good job the last, little bit more than a week or so of resting Drew Cole. Can you really see the difference in his game throughout the last about week and a half or so?
Yeah, I think so. His hands are back to the quickness we were seeing at the beginning of the year. He's no longer trying to create bat speed with his front shoulder, which was causing him to hit a lot of fly balls, backside, just real lazy. Now when he gets pitches, his hands are coming through the zone and pulling that ball like we saw. It's just part of baseball. A guy makes a great play in the field, and it just kind of carries over. He comes to the plate in a big situation and is able to deliver, kind of build off the momentum he created for himself in the field. So, I really had a lot of faith with Drew walking to the plate in that situation just because that's the way it seems to happen in baseball. Great play in the field, get a chance to do it at the plate. Just let the momentum carry over.
Yeah, the Tobs getting 2 big hits from their big lefties in the middle of the lineup. Ben Schmucker with an RBI single and then Drew Cole with an RBI double, giving the Tobs the 4-2 lead. And then they turn the ball over to Chris Williams out of the bullpen. How much easier does it make your job to just throw out a guy like Williams, who has been pretty much perfect out of the bullpen for you?
It makes my job really easy. There's no thought involved in it. We get the lead. We're up by less than 3 going into the 9th. We hand the ball to Williams and we let him do his thing. And there's no thought, there's no question. I don't have to consider anything. We had TJ Viracola hot in the pen to go out to pitch the 9th, and I walked down and told Chris Williams, hey, we get the lead right here, get hot quick. And TJ understands. We talked about it after the game. He's like, hey, and Chris has been in that situation for us all year, done a great job. And, he's done a great job, as most of our pitchers have this year, accepting his role. He knew what he was going to do. If we kept the game tied, TJ was going in. But luckily we pulled ahead and we're able to put Chris in. And he throws strikes, and that's the big thing. He comes in, he's got a good fastball, good curveball, and a good changeup. So 3 pitches with command of the strike zone, which just Leighton, you don't want to put extra guys on base. Make them put it in play. I was talking to my dad after the game, who's in town this week, and we were watching the Hall of Fame yesterday, and John Smoltz was on there talking about Maddox and Glavine, and he kind of said, Chris reminds me of John Smoltz in that reliever role. It's kind of smooth and then explosive at the end with 3 pitches. And I think that was a good comparison there. He's been very good out of the pen because of those 3 pitches and his control of the strike zone.
Yeah, and Williams going now 9 for 9 in save opportunities, really kind of rectifying himself after that little bit of a shaky outing last Sunday against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs when he allowed 3 runs. Well, Tobs hit 1 game above 500, now at 24 and 23, locked into that number 3 spot in the playoffs at the moment, and we'll see if the Tobs can hold on to that. Well, we'll come right back on this edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly, and joining me right now is catcher for the Wilson Tobs, Matt Rubino. The Tobs had a 4-2 victory in last night's game against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, and the first run of the game came home on a solo shot by Matt here, his first home run of the season, making the game 1-1. And just take me through that at-bat a little bit, Matt.
The at-bat a little bit was fastball. Well, the inning before that, I actually had a 3-2 count before runner in front of me stole Kenny, I want to say it was. Stole, got a chance to look at least 5 or 6 pitches, got to see what the pitcher was throwing. Went back the next inning, led off, pitch right in the middle. I want to say I swung at it, I'm not sure, can't really remember. Next pitch was changeup, and then he threw me a hanging curveball and just put a good swing on it and drove it somewhere.
And when you had that kind of curveball and you hit it well, do you know it's out?
No, not necessarily. Sometimes when you feel it, it feels good. That time I just got a lot of backspin on it, just kind of carried.
And the ball was carrying pretty well last night, actually 2 home runs as David LaFleur, the number 9 batter for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, hit a solo shot in the 8th inning. But that only made the game 2-1. You're behind the plate in a pitcher's duel. What's going through your mind?
We're just trying to maintain the game as much as possible so that when Quinn was pitching great yesterday. Whenever he starts slowing down, obviously we know his pitch count's going to go up. We expect that the bullpen's going to come in and do their job, and they did their job for the most part. Luckily our offense came back in the 8th, but we were really trying to keep that game as close as possible so that our offense could work.
Now, you mentioned Quinn Atwood. He now has 3 consecutive starts of quality starts, going 6 innings or more and allowing 3 runs or less. But with him, he's a fastball, curveball, and splitter guy. How tough is it to catch a splitter throwing pitcher?
It's tough to catch a splitter throwing pitcher when they can't locate their pitches. That's one thing. Quinn does a great job of throwing a splitter when he needs to. We mostly stick to it on left-handed batters just because we're not really sure what we've had some bad issues with the splitter on right-handed batters. But we mostly work together well. He was working on his curveball over the past couple starts he had. Moved it more into a slider sort of pitch, and it's been more effective for him.
And he's been pitching really well, as I mentioned now, 3 consecutive quality starts, really helping the Tobs out, going 6 innings in last night's game with just the 1 run. And talking about another pitcher for the Tobs who has been just terrific so far this summer, and that's been Chris Williams. He's 9 for 9 in save opportunities. Coach Hay mentions how he likes to throw a lot of strikes. Is that really what makes him so effective? Does the ball run? Why is he so good out there on the mound?
Chris and I have a good chemistry going on. I know when I go out there in the 9th and we have the lead, there's nothing to worry about, no matter if we have a 1-run lead or a 2-run lead. I know he's going to throw strikes. He just spots up every single pitch that I call, and that's what I want out of my closing pitcher.
Yeah, it makes it real fun as a catcher, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, Matt, if you guys didn't know, he's the son of a colonel in the United States Marine Corps, and your father's currently stationed out in Honolulu, Hawaii. How many places have you lived in your life?
I've lived about 15 places. I went to 4 different high schools, and just have been able to meet numerous people over the past years.
And your favorite place is where?
Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. It's near Jacksonville, about 20 minutes outside of Jacksonville.
And when you're growing up and you're going to all these different places, what's your favorite thing about that?
There really isn't a favorite thing about moving, to be honest.
That's all right.
You have to meet new people every single year. You have to drop the same people that you just met at the end of the year. It just kind of get in a routine. You gotta get used to it. So.
Okay, now this is the hardest part of every single interview I do with players, and you can take your time coming up with the answer. But what is your favorite baseball memory? Now, it doesn't have to be college, high school. We had John Valek talk about a 2-home-run game that he had back when he was like 11 years old. So when I say your favorite baseball memory, I mean the first thing that pops into your mind. See, tough one. I wasn't kidding.
I mean, I made a triple play by myself when I was in Little League.
Really?
Yeah.
What position were you playing?
I mean, Little League, you kind of just throw them out there. I think I was playing shortstop, and kid hit just like a kind of blute fly ball, and Little League, I mean, base runners don't really know where they're going at some points. So I caught the ball, and I went and tagged the runner, went and tagged second base for the out, and then went and tagged first base.
You're just like, you know what, I'm just going to clear off the bases right now. I'll go right
Well,
back into the dugout.
no one really like wanted me to throw the ball. The coaches just kept waving me around, telling me to touch the bases, so I just ran around and touched the bases.
So you did the opposite of what would happen if you're at the plate.
Yeah, pretty much.
That actually sounds really cool. So an unassisted triple play, your favorite baseball
Yeah.
memory. That's pretty good. I don't know how many guys, even in Little League, can say that.
I'm lucky to be me.
I guess so. And not necessarily lucky to hit the home run last night in the 4-2 victory for the Tobs. Matt, thank you so much for coming in this morning. I do know it's tough getting up in the morning, so I really do appreciate it. All right, folks, when we come back on this edition of Tobs Talk, we'll wrap things up. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, the Tobs sit one game above 500 at 24-23 after the 4-2 win against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs in last night's game. Tonight's game is against the Morehead City Marlins, and those Marlins, well, they've been at the top of the second half standings in the East Division of the CPL pretty much all the second half, but right now they sit one game behind the Peninsula Pilots, and if that happens, well, the Tobs should have a pretty easy road into the playoffs so far this summer. Right now, the Tobs are sitting in that third of 4 playoff spots, and of course, the Tobs, with a win tonight against the Morehead City Marlins, can deliver a really good blow to those Marlins. It is the final game of the season in this series between the two teams, and we'll see if the Tobs can kind of snap that little bit of a losing streak they are on against the Morehead City Marlins, as Ryan Mintier will take the mound for the Tobs here tonight. He's pitched very well his last couple of outings. He went into the 8th inning last time out, last Sunday actually, on the 20th, against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. He went 7 1/3 innings, allowing 4 runs, actually 5 runs, 4 of those earned, but a really good job. The prior start before that, he went 4 innings, not allowing a single run as the rain started coming down in the second game of a doubleheader against the Edenton Steamers, as the Tobs ended up winning that game. So we'll see if Ryan Mintier can kind of keep the good flow going out there on the mound tonight against the Morehead City Marlins. Tonight's game is Little League Night presented by TL Herring. So if you're one of the young people around Wilson, both Wilson City and Wilson County, if you bring in or if you wear a Little League uniform to the game, you get free general admission into tonight's game against the Morehead City Marlins. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 with the gates opening at 6 o'clock. So remember, if you are a Little League player, bring your uniform to the game, wear that uniform, and you can get free general admission into tonight's game. For tonight's game against the Morehead City Marlins, Ryan Mintier is on the bump. First pitch scheduled for 7:05 and gates opening at 6 o'clock for Little League Night presented by TL Herring at Fleming Stadium. This is Jake Donnelly saying thank you once again for tuning in to Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2, and hopefully we'll see you all at Fleming.